In order for a billion to be created, you have to have the consciousness first. And the reason why that is because it's that consciousness that enables you to have the right thought at the right time to create the extraordinary value, and do it in such a way where you're protecting yourself, your health, your family's health, your team's health, and indeed the health of the whole world, right? You're not causing damage, creating extraordinary value. You're doing it in such a way where you're in tune with this value of consciousness. Now, what is consciousness, right? It's a big word. People can say it's philosophical, people can say it's spiritual. In actual fact, it's scientific. And the reason why it's scientific is because they've shown that when a leader and a high performer is functioning in what we call the fourth state of consciousness, so we all know we go into waking state, dreaming state, sleeping state, imagining state, but not many people realize between those states is a fourth state of consciousness. And that is really the highest state of consciousness and when we function from. That's where the right thoughts actually come to us. We're not trying to figure it out. And
consciousness is feeding our thinking, being, doing.
Exactly.
Physiology, if you will.
It's the source of intelligence. It's the wholeness that's greater than the sum of the parts. So today we have great AI intelligence. We have great IQ and EQ intelligence that we develop through educational processes, but they're still the parts. They're still the parts of intelligence. They're not the wholeness of intelligence. And we've realized through our experience of working with CEOs that have created billions in value for their organization that they function closer to this field of consciousness. And so one example of that is one of our clients. He would often do a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and he would hear the presentation, and then he was expected to respond to what was just pitched at him, and he would sit there. He would sit there for up to a minute, which would feel like a long time in a high-powered meeting like that.
Exactly.
And people ask me, hey, why do you take so long to respond? You know, you're just in the silence. It's really awkward. I feel uncomfortable. And he says, are you trying to intimidate or create pressure or something like that? He says, no, I'm not doing that at all. I'm actually just thinking in myself how I feel about what's just been shared, how I feel about the person that shared it, how I feel about the company, how I feel about the timing of things. So what he's actually doing is he's using that value of consciousness to take all these different parts of information and get to a conclusion that he can make a right decision. And this is where the consciousness value comes in. And you said to me yesterday that we have, 6 trillion interactions going on in our mind. Transactions per second.
On the whole physiology,
The whole physiology in the mind, the neurons, the cells, the atoms and molecules that are all coursing through our physiology. And so as I told you, I looked up on AI about, okay, what does AI say about what's going on in 1 second? And you said that was 8 years ago you heard that.
It was 8 years ago that I found that nugget and started to share it with people.
And so AI has now upgraded that to what it says is 10 to the power of 21. Now what that means, it's a number interestingly enough, called sextillion. Sextillion,
and that's per second.
And so what that means is that sextillion is like the number 1 plus 21 zeros added to it. Wow. That's how many exchanges and interactions are going on in our physiology in 1 second. And I went to myself, I go, how is that even possible? That's not our IQ working that out. That's not our EQ working out. That's not AI even working that out. That is another level of intelligence and conscious that we can only call consciousness. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, consciousness is best described in terms of being the existence, being that source intelligence from which everything has arisen. And we can say it's like the iceberg is formed because of the ocean. Many people think the iceberg is because of the 1/4 iceberg below the water that enables it to float above the water, but it's actually the ocean. And that's the intelligence that we all have access to. And through techniques of meditation, especially transcending techniques like TM, transcendental meditation, we can get access to this field of consciousness.
I'm just going to ask you, what are the techniques that you would use in a corporate environment to a corporate superstar, a corporate performer that comes and says, let me have this
Yeah.
consciousness, this billionaire consciousness.
So basically, as you know, my background, my business partner and I, we spent over 25 years combined total, about 60,000 hours of just meditating, transcending, enlivening that field of consciousness for ourselves, for our world.
The life of monk.
Our life of a monk.
Yeah.
The life of monk was a very monastic focus. And so we realized that value is the source of thinking and decision making. And research has since proven that when one experiences consciousness in its purest form, then it changes the brain in terms of the whole brain functioning, getting activated. And specifically the prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO, the executive functioning part of our brain for thinking and strategic planning and decision making. And so the research has shown that when one's experiencing the transcendental consciousness, the underlying field behind the waking, dreaming, sleeping states of consciousness, then the brain is more active and the prefrontal cortex activity, there's more blood flow, there's more coherence there, and we just function better, and therefore we're able to see better possibilities, realize them, and actualize them.
Make better decisions.
Yeah.
Make better forward type movements toward success.
Exactly.
It's all relative, of course, but wow.
Exactly. And so we want more people that are interested in functioning at this really highest level of executive leadership to have this value of consciousness in their life, so they don't get overwhelmed by all the variables.
Let me ask you, when you pitch a high-ranking executive, does he naturally want to gravitate to, I want my consciousness to get me to cost savings, to production, to performance, because the world of business is so performance oriented. How do you get off of that and onto we need consciousness? You got to nurture the consciousness.
Well, where does his thoughts come from? Where does his decisions come from? It comes from within him, right? And a lot of people want to improve the business through action, which is valid, but what if it's not the right action? Because you haven't had the right thought. You haven't got the right awareness about what's really going on and what's really required. And so that's why we want to, and a lot of executives will go out to try and fix the problem and sort it out. But really, the best executives, especially that we've worked with, they find that the answer comes from within. That they realize
that calming, quiet, inner self, connecting with that informs them in terms of what's going on and what is going to be what we call the most evolutionary path, which is the path of least resistance, least action, least energy, least damage, that will get them to that outcome that they want. And so by their mind being more settled, what we find is that deals want to close themselves because they're coming from a place of such coherence that people want to do business with them. And that's the power of consciousness, and that's the power we want to bring to those that want to create extraordinary value and do it in a better way, a more efficient way. It's a fantastic program. I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
I don't know what you're doing to expand. You can only do so many customers, right?
Yeah. So in terms of that, scaling this is what we ideally want to do. We have a new group on school.com called Consciousness Billionaire. And that Consciousness Billionaire program is ideally, we want over 100 founders, CEOs, and executives to come together, to meditate together, to experience the fourth state of consciousness, to enliven that as a group, which is even more powerful than doing by yourself. And the research is showing that there's a field effect that happens when especially high-powered leaders come together like this. And by doing this for 30 days...
A field effect on the physics of the day, on the physics of the relative field. The relative field of existence. Wow.
Exactly. And so for 30 days, we'll do 20 minutes every day, Monday through Friday. We have 3 different options, 2 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern time. So you've got different opportunities to grab a meditation with the group, and then just see how that unfolds. And what this is primarily going to do is it's going to enable you to stay and be in the zone and in the flow, right? Because being in the zone and the flow, people talk about it in terms of a body or a mental or emotional experience where things are just flowing, but mental and emotional and physical is always subject to change. But when you bring in consciousness, which is the source of the mental and the emotional and the physical, then you're more likely to stay there.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow,
And be established and stay in the zone and stay in the flow, have more access to the energy and the creativity that comes from consciousness, and just be able to function at a higher level and be able to, most importantly,
And
protect
is this
health.
what you're calling your new mavericks? The new mavericks are the mavericks that are taking on the world of consciousness, bringing it into their lives, bringing it into their fold, their decision making, their day-to-day world of business.
New mavericks are consciousness based.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
They're not just mavericks that create disruption in the world for some change, but mavericks that really create an evolution in the world, because they're bringing that consciousness that's in tune with what's nature wants.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, Thomas Edison, he created the light bulb not for his own individuality. It was for
sharing,
for the benefit for everybody,
Yeah.
for humanity. And that's what we want more creation of business and innovation to be like, because it's coming from that field of universality. Obviously, it's coming through an individual, but they're coming from that field that supports everybody.
Yeah. Wow. Ramon Newman, New Mavericks, a man of consciousness. Good luck to you, brother.
Thank you, man.
You're going to do fantastic. You've done great. I'm looking forward to seeing your results here in the future, too. I'm certain you're going to be expanding that universe.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Anything else you want to say? Because you could I want to give you a good close.
Oh yeah, just go to school.com, search Consciousness Billionaire. You'll find us there. If you want to check out New Mavericks, go to newmavericks.com. And all the information's there. And if you want to just reach out to me or through LinkedIn or any way, and we can have a deeper conversation and make it relevant to you.
Yeah.